Just like that, it's week 11 in the NFL, and your Philadelphia Eagles, first place Philadelphia Eagles, are taking on the Washington Commanders, looking to put more space between them and those Washington Commanders. Commanders have been a big conversation point this season thanks to the quarterback play of rookie and Heisman Trophy winner Jaden Daniels. He'll be seeing an old friend in Jalen Carter across the line of scrimmage tonight as this battle takes place. You barely even had any time to miss us from Sunday, and we look forward to getting this game underway and the Eagles hopefully asserting dominance over this Commanders team. With me, of course, is Seth Joyner, Eagles Hall of Famer and veteran Eagles reporter Derrick Gunn. Seth, when you think about this Washington Commanders team, what has made people pay attention to them so much as well as they have played so far this season?
Well, the young quarterback. No one expects for a young quarterback to come in and do some of the things that Jaden Daniels has done this season. He looks like this year's C.J. Stroud. With a record of 7-3. No one foresaw that coming because this team has been down for so long. But you got to give a lot of credit to Dan Quinn. He's done a phenomenal job of not only bringing this young player along, but he's done a phenomenal job of bringing along this entire team, this entire organization, and making them relevant in a one-year span.
I didn't think, Gunner, that when you change ownership, the whole team would have a facelift, and that's essentially what has happened. Ron Rivera, obviously out. A new coaching regime is in. We know one of the coaches extremely well, and Brian Johnson, who was here last year as the offensive coordinator. He's the passing game coordinator now for the Washington Commanders and doing a great job with Jaden Daniels. This has been an entire facelift, and we all know Joshua Harris here in Philadelphia all too well. We were the first team he owned. When it comes to this Commanders team, really, it's a totally different vibe down there in D.C.
Yeah, first of all, Josh, I just want to thank you for turning the Washington Commanders around and leaving the 76ers bare. I just want to throw that out there. I just had to throw that out there. But you know what? I have been waiting for this game for weeks, more so than the Eagles in Dallas game. I've been chomping at the bit, just like a kid in a candy store. I've been waiting to see this game because I've watched bits and pieces of this kid, Jaden Daniels, for weeks and weeks and watch him make these phenomenal plays. Now I want to see for a full 60 minutes against the number 2 ranked defense in the National Football League just how good this young man is. But, you know, what they did in 1 year is unbelievable. You know, you gave Dan Quinn a lot of credit. What about Cliff Kingsbury? Okay, not much of a head coach, but look at what he's done with Jaden Daniels and this offense in 1 year. Very creative, obviously identified the strengths and weaknesses of Jaden and has played to him to the point this kid is arguably the odds-on favorite right now to be the offensive rookie of the year, no question about it. But I will ask you this, my friend. I want to see who the real Jaden Daniels is tonight. First 5 games of the season, he completed 77% of his passes. Last 5 games, 60.3%. So have defensive coordinators figured out some of the things he's doing, some of his tendencies? We're going to find out tonight.
Yeah, and if you're Vic Fangio, you have to be licking your chops for an opportunity to go up against this rookie quarterback and say, guess what? He's not that good. And I'm sure that's what Vic Fangio, as well as Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, as well as Darius Slay, as well as the rest of this Eagles defensive back core is thinking going into this game. Not something they're taking for granted, but another step up and prove it type of moment for this entire Eagles defense. How do you think they're going to attack Jaden Daniels today, especially Vic Fangio going up against this rookie who went up against Todd Bowles, for instance, in his first game of the season? His offense only put up 20 points in that game. How do you think Vic Fangio attacks Jaden Daniels today?
Well, listen, I think it's really a tale of, two different offense and a defense that ranks kind of weird in a way when you think about the Washington Commanders. Offensively, they are running the ball for 153 yards per game. They rank 4th in the National Football League. But the Philadelphia Eagles, on defense, that is, only gives up 100 yards per game, and they rank 5th in the National Football League. Conversely, they're averaging 228. The Washington Commanders are 228 yards per game. That's 11th in the NFL in passing. But the Eagles are only giving up 173 yards per game, and they rank 3rd versus the pass. Now, what's the caveat, with all of that being said? All of that being said, I believe that, Washington wants to come out and they want to run the football. They average running 31 run plays per game, and they average passing 28 passes per game. But they want to establish the run. With a young quarterback, that's what you do. So for the Eagles, the number one priority has to be making them one-dimensional by shutting down what they do versus the run. Because if you can do that, now you put them in predictable situations. And even under predictable situations with this quarterback, being as mobile as he is, being able to get out of the pocket, being able to make plays with his legs, being efficient from the pocket as well, now you can scheme up some things to kind of, to put him behind the 8 ball. And first and second down is going to be critical because the Eagles have to win first down defensively. And they've got to figure out a way to get this young offense in third and long situations where we can get the noise at Lincoln Financial Field to be, a problem for him. And the percentages of being able to convert on 3rd and 8 to 9 plus they go up exponentially. So, listen, the kids play great, but I don't think he's faced this type of pressure. I don't think, the pressure of playing for the outright lead in the NFC Eastern Division, the pressure of being on the big stage on Thursday Night Football where everybody else is sitting at home watching you do what you do. Our football team, even though we're young defensively, we've got enough veterans on that side and enough veterans on the offensive side that have been there and done this before that can talk to these young guys and bring them along. But they've got to figure out a way to make them one-dimensional. If they can make them one-dimensional, I shudder to think what could happen in this game because, it's not lost on me that Vic Fangio has been blitzing a lot more than people give him credit for. I asked someone in an interview I was doing earlier this week, I was like, can somebody explain to me what defense it was that Sean Desai and Jonathan Gannon was running if they were actually, Vic Fangio disciples? Because I didn't see any of the things that he's doing with this defense this year from a blitz and a man-to-man situation and getting the corners up and playing a lot more aggressive. We didn't see that under those last 2 coordinators. So I'm not sure what version of the Vic Fangio's defense that they were actually running.
Yeah, we're not seeing the cover band anymore. We're seeing the original act, and it looks a lot better than what we have seen in recent years with the Philadelphia Eagles. But you talk about that defense and getting off the field on 3rd down. The Washington Commanders are a top 5 team in 3rd down conversions. 44% of the time they're converting on 3rd down. They're 11 of 12 on the season on 4th down. So the Eagles, defensively speaking, are going to have to get off that field, Gunner.
There's no question about it. And you talk about Washington's 3rd down conversion. A lot of those are 3rd and short situations. You've got to get them in 3rd and long situations. Let's see how they handle that pressure then, because that young quarterback's going to have to pat that ball just a little bit more to try to find whether it's Terry McLaurin, whether it's Zack Ertz, whether it's Noah Brown, one of his wide open receivers. But I will say this, when the Eagles come after him, be disciplined, stay in your lanes, because this dude is slippery, man. And when he gets on you and gets away from you, he can flat out step. So he's the leading rusher on their team. That should tell you what you need to know about the Washington Commanders' rushing attack. You talk about how potent it is, averaging 153 yards a game. He's the catalyst to that rushing attack. Now, we don't like to see our quarterbacks running. Okay, Washington, that's fine for you. But if that's what you need to do what you had to do, you go right ahead. We learned a lesson with Jalen Hurts a couple of years ago about this running quarterback stuff. Run when necessary. Don't run like a deer being flushed out of the pocket, okay? But Jaden Daniels, I tell you, man, this young man has been special. There's no question about it. Throws a beautiful ball, handles everything with poise and grace, feels the pressure coming, blindside pressure coming, better than a lot of rookies do. And I know we're going to talk him up all night long. Hopefully the Philadelphia Eagles defense can bring him back down to earth tonight.
I know any Eagles fan has probably looked at the numbers by now, and they have seen that the Washington Commanders are terrible against the run. 4th worst in the NFL at yards allowed on the ground. And who are they facing this week? The guy that is only the 2nd leading rusher in the NFL in Saquon Barkley, that already now going into Week 11 has 991 yards on the ground this season. Seth, is it just this easy to say, okay, feed Saquon, let him do his thing, or are you going to be thinking about Dan Quinn stacking the box and making sure that they're thinking, all right, make Jalen Hurts and this receiving core beat us?
Well, you kind of touched on what I was going to touch on. I believe that this is the game where we see the workload for Jalen Hurts actually increase, because it already started with Dallas last week. You remember in the first half of last week's game, they really made a concerted effort to keep Saquon Barkley, under wraps. And on the day, I believe Saquon only has 66 yards on 14 carries. So when you think about that, you're not going to tell me that Dan Quinn is not going to look at his former defense from last year and say, okay, what did they do to kind of keep Saquon, under wraps. That doesn't mean that the Eagles just abandon the run. In my opinion, they've got to continue to run the football to keep some type of offensive balance and to force the Washington Commanders defense to play them honestly. But Jalen Hurts very well could have over 30 pass attempts in this game, because if they're going to load the box, then that means you got one-on-ones on the outside. If you got one-on-ones on the outside against these cornerbacks that they just made a trade for, that guy is not playing tonight because of a hamstring injury. Well, they made that trade for a reason, because they're having problems out there. And those same guys that they were having problems with before are still going to be in this game, and they're going to have to attack those situations tonight. Now, I still want to see them run the football, meet your season average on, how many times you're running the ball, but sometimes you have to alter your game plan when it comes to how teams are going to try to take away what you're doing. So it'll be interesting to see if that's not the way they come out tonight, attacking versus the pass and then settling back into the run. Or it just may be one of those situations where if they give them a light box, if you want to go too high safety to take away the big play, then guess what? We'll just hand it off and run it with Saquon.
Are you just feeding Saquon today, Gunner, or are you trying to spread it out?
You got to spread it out. I think in a game like this, you're going to have to spread it out. You're going to have to keep this defense on its heels. Do not give them one bit of momentum. And the thing about this Eagles offense is they have enough personnel from tackle to tackle, receiver to receiver, to take away any defense's momentum. And especially in a nationally televised game like this, first place on the line, in your backyard, you don't want to give Washington one iota of momentum in their favor in this case. So, everybody knows Saquon is going to get the ball. They're going to test the picket fence, and like they did against Dallas. And if they find out the picket fence doesn't have enough holes in it, then they're going to take to the air. Well, look, when they take to the air, they can go from corner to corner, sideline to sideline with enough weapons. So I would have to say it's going to be a guessing game. The first 30 minutes, for the most part, is going to be a guessing game, because Washington is going to come out with a few plays of trickery. They're not just going to line up and try to go at this Eagles defense. They're going to try to come out with a few plays of trickery to catch the Eagles off their heels, and I don't blame them in a game like this. I don't blame them one bit. Cliff Kingsbury's been doing it all season. I expect nothing less from him tonight.
Before we go to our first break, I do want to run these injuries by you, Derrick Gunn. First off, let's talk about the Eagles. Jordan Mailata playing left tackle today. They were all trying to keep it close to the vest early, but Jordan Mailata wasn't fooling me any, especially with that mustache he had going on there. Looking like a villain from a 1950s film. But so he's going to be up and going in this game. On the other side of the foot, also Devontae Smith was dealing with an injury. What's the status for him?
As far as I know, he's going to play tonight, Dallas Goedert's up for this game. It's all hands on deck in this game tonight, man.
All right.
And I know it's only the 10th game of the season for the Eagles, but it's a huge game at the midway point.
Also, Brian Robinson's going to be up for the Washington Commanders.
Yes.
Marshawn Lattimore, as you referenced earlier, Seth, not going to be going. So still having problems in that Washington Commanders
that's
secondary.
Huge for the Eagles. Lattimore's not playing in this game tonight.
That's a shame.
We already cooked them once. It don't matter.
Okay. All right.
When we come back, we'll take a look at some of the numbers that Jalen Hurts has had against man coverage. Did you know that this Commanders team and Dan Quinn plays more man than almost anybody else in the NFL? 51% of the time in man coverage, and Jalen Hurts been one of the best quarterbacks. We'll talk about that when we talk about attacking man coverage. When we return, it's the betPARX pregame show presented by Lehocky from Parx Casino, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia. And there it is in all its glory, Parx Casino in Bensalem.
It's happening again. Those missed tackles are starting to stack up. Your friends pleading with players who can't hear them. Sweating it out week after week. But not you. Why? Because whether they score or not, there's always another way to win on the betPARX app. New casino users score up to $1,000 bonus back in their first 24 hours.
At Pond Lehocky Giordano, we understand the impact an injury can have on your life. Our experienced attorneys have recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we know we can do the same for you. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Sell your car to us, no hassle, no fuss. DavisSpiceCars.com.
Did you know
know that Davis Honda will pay top dollar for your car? Go to davisbuyscars.com and get an instant quote on your vehicle. We'll make the purchase as easy as possible and put cash in your hand faster than you can say davisbuyscars.com.
Sell your car to us, no hassle, no fuss. davisbuyscars.com.
I'm in that mode. Stick to the code. I'm in my zone. Let's go. Let's go. I'm back in my bag. I'm wrecking the wins and it's making them.
You've got your Sunday obsession, and we got you. Now with Verizon, get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV on us and get every out-of-market Sunday game. Plus $800 off Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Only on Verizon.
See you Sunday.
This next segment is brought to you by betPARX app. Welcome back to the betPARX pregame show presented by Pond Lehocky. Marc, Farzetta, Seth Joyner, and Derrick Gunn coming up in this segment. We're going to be talking about who we have behind enemy lines that you're going to need to keep an eye on and who the Eagles are going to have to find a way to contain in this Week 11 matchup. The Washington Commanders coming into this game 7-3 on the season. The Eagles with the slight edge at 7-2, looking to improve it to 8-2 and put more space between them and the Commanders. But, gentlemen, when we're talking about Dan Quinn and the success he's had against the Philadelphia Eagles in the past, we're also talking about a head coach and also a defensive coordinator formerly that likes to play man coverage. 51% of the time, as I was saying before the break, the Washington Commanders are in man coverage. Jalen Hurts, listen to these numbers so far this year. He is second in the NFL right now in yards per attempt against man coverage, 8.8 yards per attempt. Third in quarterback rating, 81.7, not passer rating, quarterback rating, and completion percentage, third in the NFL at 65%. What has been working so well, Seth, when it comes to Jalen Hurts being able to attack man coverage?
Well, I think, once he reads man coverage, I think he knows exactly where he wants to go with the ball, and they have been doing some side adjustments. Last year they didn't have many side adjustments or hot routes built into their offense. Under Kellen Moore, they have a lot more of it, and Jalen's doing a good job. A lot of man situations or blitzes that come at quarterbacks, a lot of it is just recognition. If you can pre-snap read it and you got time on the clock to talk to your or signal to your wide receivers, your tight ends, and your backs what it is that you want to do, and you can get the protection right, then you can attack it. Normally what happens with players is they're kind of deceived, or there's some kind of disguise that's going on pre-snap that they think they see one thing, but it's really something else, and then they get the ball in their hand, and it's like they're expecting for their wide receiver or tight end to do one thing, and he does something completely different because at the snap of the ball, the coverage has changed.
Now, Jalen Hurts, one thing I have noticed from him in particular this year, and I haven't really noticed this in any other year, he is attempting at least. I'm not saying he's doing it just yet, but he's at least attempting to look off the safety. You'll see him look to the left side of the line of scrimmage and then come back to the middle. That's something you haven't seen it. What?
It's growth.
Exactly.
It's the maturation of a quarterback. He's in the fifth year. Mm-hmm. They say it takes 3 to 5 years for a quarterback to mature in the National Football League. Maybe he's hit that maturation point. But for him to hit that maturation point, guess what? You got to have the guys up front that can give him the time to do a lot of what he wants to do. And this Eagles offensive line, you pick up on something that Seth was talking about, making a site adjustment. Side adjustments only occur when your offensive line allows you to make those adjustments. If you got people breathing down your neck constantly, you don't get to make those side adjustments. But from tackle to tackle, even when Mulatto was out and Fred Brown was in there, Fred Brown did a pretty good job on that left side. And you watch Jalen, when he sets back there, he can go through those progressions because of those 5 guys up front and giving him the time, and also being able to pick up the blitz as well. And that's part of that maturation process of Jalen. Initially he wouldn't look off their primary receiver, which would cost him in a lot of ways. Not anymore. When you have the wealth of talent that he has across the board, it's easy pickings in a lot of ways once it starts to register exactly what you want to do in a certain offense. Think about it. He's still learning another offense. Mm-hmm. And we're at the halfway point of the season. It's not a complete offense yet. It continues to build as the season grows along, and so does Jalen's confidence in his offense.
Okay, so on that note, when you talk about Fred Johnson, the job he's been able to do so far this season, how much of the trust is a factor when you talk about Jordan Mailata being here and being back?
It's a huge trust. I mean, it's the guy. It's the guy who's been in this hip pocket forever. He knows what Mailata brings to the table. Nothing against Fred Brown, but when you have somebody who's a Rock of Gibraltar,
Fred Johnson.
what did I say, Fred? What did I say, Fred
Brown?
Thank you for correcting. Fred Johnson.
I tried to do it subtly.
I told you I'm hyped. Look,
that's teamwork.
I told you I'm hyped. I'm hyped for this game.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah. Fred Johnson. Okay. But when you have somebody who has been your Rock of Gibraltar on their side,
Right.
it enhances your confidence level when you sit back there because you're not worried about peeking over your shoulder because you know what he brings to the table, especially in a pass blocking game. And that's not a knock against Fred Johnson. It's just the fact of who he is. That's a mountain of a man over there, 6'8", 350 pounds. You know, I mean, as big as these tackles are nowadays, this dude is bigger than most tackles in the National Football League. So he knows what Jordan Mailata does for him on that side, which gives him the utmost confidence in what he has to do overall.
It's better than having Fred Barnett. You know what I'm saying right
Fred
there?
Barnett,
trying to
Fred
protect
Barnett.
you.
Yeah, I hear
Fred
you, brother.
Mercury
I
trying
hear
to
you.
protect your blinds, whatever it might
I
be.
hear you.
All right, let's go behind enemy lines right now. Talking about the Washington Commanders. Gentlemen, when we talk about behind enemy lines, brought to you by Verizon, I'm going to go ahead and just take the low-hanging fruit off the table because I know we already talked about him in the opening segment. But, I mean, it's the quarterback. It's Jaden Daniels. I'll let you guys dig deeper into this. But Jaden Daniels and what he brings to the table, you see it, the 9 touchdowns, the 2 interceptions, and then you also get into it a little bit more with what he's been able to do on the road. A 116 passer rating just on the road this season. He's also got 11 touchdowns, 7 of them through the air, 4 of them on the ground. He is doing a fantastic job. And one of the things that really sticks out to me, and just listening to press conferences and interviews leading up to this game, our old friend Zack Ertz was talking about Jaden Daniels and the fact that after just 2 games, you can't call him a rookie anymore. You have to call him a seasoned veteran. I understand that it's his rookie season, but what he's been able to bring to the table is that guy that looks like a 10-year vet already. The moment never seems too big for him, whether it's a Hail Mary, whether it's a scramble, whatever the case might be. And he also has one heck of a target in Terry McLaurin, who we all know has had his way against the Eagles throughout his career. And he's third in the NFL right now, as a matter of fact, when it comes to receiving yards, and the guy airing it out to him, Jaden Daniels, has been doing a great job doing that. So all started off behind enemy lines there, brought to you by Verizon with Jaden Daniels. Gunner, who are you going to focus on in this game?
Well, the guy I'm going to look at has been in the league for 10 years, but he's only had 1 double-digit sack season. That was in 2019. But Dante Fowler Jr. is well on his way to surpassing that number in 2024. Already at this point, he has 8.5 quarterback sacks. That's 3rd in the National Football League. You know, when I look at him, this is his 5th team in the National Football League. I don't understand it. 6'3", 261. He's been a quality player everywhere he's been. But in 10 seasons, he's on his 5th team in Washington. What you have to watch for him tonight is just get off the ball. I mean, one of the quickest get-off the balls in the National Football League. I love the way he'll try to set you up also. He sets up offensive linemen beautifully in terms of going one way, making them think he's going one way and then pirouetting back another way. They're going to move him up and down the line as well, like they do a lot of your good defensive linemen, to see where he can find a weakness in that Eagles offensive line. Dante Fowler Jr., keep a special eye on him tonight as he tries to enhance that 8.5 quarterback sack.
I'll say this. You had your eyes on Trey Hendrickson when the Eagles played the Bengals.
And they stonewalled him.
They did a hell of a job against him, and he's only leading the league in sacks. So how about that? Seth Joyner, who you're going to be focusing on in this Commanders-Eagles matchup?
You know, not so much that I believe that this guy's going to have a hell of a day, but just because of what he's done and what the matchup's going to look like, I like Terry McLaurin in this spot. He is the biggest target that Jaden Daniels has. So this is his big play guy. And I just want to give you guys some stats that absolutely blow your mind. So he lines up 77% of the time on the left side of the field, okay? 371 snaps at left wide receiver, all right? 27 snaps at right wide receiver, okay? And 85 snaps in the slot. Okay, you know who lines up on their offensive left and our defensive right? Quinyon Mitchell. Mm-hmm. So we're going to get a preview. The 77% of the snaps, he's going to be lined up on Terry McLaurin. And if the Eagles are going to win this game tonight, then Quinyon Mitchell is going to play a big role in that because he's going to have to cover this guy the majority of the time because he lines up to his side 77% of the time. Now, this kid has been lights out all season long. Lights out. But Terry McLaurin can flat out run. Now, I'm not saying that Quinyon Mitchell can't run because he run 4.32. And his technique is just phenomenal. But I picked this simply because I want to see the matchup, D-Gun.
I couldn't agree with you more.
I'm so intrigued with this because this is going to be a matchup for years to come, you know? And it's going to really interest me to see if he shuts him down early, do they begin to move him, you know, to the right side? Do they begin to move him in the slot? Do they begin to put him in motion to get him away from Quinyon? Because I've been watching film on this kid. His technique is unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. He never opens up the gate. He never commits. He stays right in front of the wide receiver and forces the wide receiver to commit before he actually commits. I mean, his technique is absolutely flawless, and I'm just waiting with bated breath to watch this matchup because it's going to be a key. Okay, he is the number 1 wide receiver on their roster, and Zack Ertz, by the way, is second in receptions on that team. Who else do they have? If they can't shut him down, I don't know what to say.
Well, I was just going to ask you, Quinyon Mitchell, so when you look at him, what makes him so special? Is it the technique? Is it his physicality? Smarts? Is it the technique? What is it?
I think it's a combination of all of it. You know, we have talked about for many years the Eagles' coaching's inability to actually develop young talent. And I believe for the first time the Eagles have a coaching staff that has the ability to develop these young guys, but I'm not going to take anything away from him because he's a first-round draft pick. And as a first-round draft pick, the reason why you take a guy in the first round is because he's already polished to a certain extent. And when I look at his technique, he didn't come here and all of a sudden learn that technique. He came here with that technique, just like Cooper DeJean. He didn't come here and just learn all of those things. Now, I'm not saying that the defensive back coach hasn't enhanced some of that stuff, but they came here with a certain skill set, being a first round and a second round pick. You know, but when I look at Quinyon Mitchell, man, listen, the guy's got size, he's got aggression. If he thinks that he can jam you at the line of scrimmage, he's all up in your chest, okay? He mixes it up. He gets up, he gets back. You know, like I said, he doesn't open up, he doesn't let the gate swing open. He stays right there in front of you because he's not afraid of your speed because he knows that he has enough speed to cover you or to catch up if need be. You know, and the fact that Vic Fangio trusts him so much, that tells me that he's a smart player. He's an intelligent player, that he's learned this system, and he's picked up what his job description is pretty damn quick. So when you ask the question, which one of those elements, you know, makes him so special, every last one of them.
Wow. Wow. When you talk about what's behind enemy lines and we talk about the guys that we're going to be watching tonight, there's one more. It's not a guy. You can't see him on the field tonight. You can only see it on the schedule. Thursday night. The quick turnaround. A couple of things were said in the Eagles locker room that I did not believe. One was Johan Dotson referring to this game, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later. It's just another game. I don't believe you. Also, Brandon Graham talking about how he actually likes the short turnaround. Are you insane, BG? Gunner, you got to talk to your boy. Do the players actually like the quick turnaround?
Some do. You know why?
How? Why?
Because when they get through the Thursday night game, they have an extended time period off. You know, you beat up your body twice over a span of 5 days, and if you're lucky and you go 2-0 and feels a lot better and you heal up a lot quicker when you're coming out on the other side of that. So, you know, it's like having a second bye week. You play on a Thursday night. So you get extended time to get rid of some of those players because look what's coming up out of this extended time. You got the Rams. You still got Baltimore to deal with. You still have Pittsburgh to deal with, you know. So this, I understand what Brandon Graham said. He loves this Thursday night. He can sit at home, bounce the kids on his knee, heal up in the hot tub in the whirlpool, get a couple ice baths, and get ready for going out west to take on the Rams.
Thursday night football, Seth. Would you enjoy such a turnaround?
Early in my career, I would say yes. And depending on who we played against, you know, on Sunday. Sure. Like, I think I don't know if I talked to you guys about it, but someone asked me about it just recently, about our games against, you know, the former Washington Redskins. Like, when we played against them, you knew you were going to be beat up and sore on Tuesday, sometimes even Wednesday. You know, but there were other teams that you played against, these finesse teams that you just beat the stew out of, and you just realized that, you know, by Wednesday I was healed up, ready to go by the time I came to practice, and I could probably play in a Thursday night game. But as I got to the end of my career, you know, it began to take longer and longer and longer for me to, like, recover and be ready to play. Sometimes I was still recovering on a Saturday, even though we had to practice Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
All right, you mentioned early in your career. Brandon Graham, not early in his career. but apparently he loves it.
Tapped in the fountain of youth.
When we return, we'll talk about the expectations we have for a guy like Johan Dotson going up against his former team. And Zack Ertz, the man that caught the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl, is coming back to Lincoln Financial Field. We'll talk about that when we return. It's the betPARX pregame show presented by Lehocky from Parx Casino in Bensalem. Make sure you get in on all the action at the betPARX Sportsbook here at Parx Casino, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia.
And the next thing I knew, I woke up in a hospital bed.
Has a friend ever told you a story about an accident and someone says,
you should probably sue them.
Forget your friend. Call Lehocky Giordano.
We're an injury law firm that's recovered billions of dollars for our clients.
And with our vast network of attorneys throughout the country, we know we can do the same for you.
So if you've been injured in an accident, give Lehocky a call.
One conversation is all it takes, and you won't pay a dime until we win.
Most people don't know how to get the care they need. The experts at Stay at Home Care can help. Before choosing a caregiver or family member for your care, you need to apply for the home care program. The application process can be complicated. Stay at Home Care can help you navigate through every step. Once approved, your caregiver or family member will receive guaranteed weekly pay, a variety of medical benefits options, paid holidays, paid vacation, and overtime pay. Call Stay at Home Care, here to help every step of the way.
This is Parks. Parks, Pennsylvania's #1 casino experience. This is how you win.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family-owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come, join our team.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
This next segment is brought to you by Lehocky. Welcome back to the betPARX pregame show presented by Lehocky. Marc, Farzetta, Seth Joyner, and Derrick Gunn with you. The biggest news of the year when it came to somebody returning anywhere was obviously Saquon Barkley going back to the Meadowlands to take on his former Giants. He only put up 176 yards in that one and then was so kind to let the young guys eat by the end of that game. Johan Dotson is going up against the Washington Commanders, and one of the things that I really enjoyed, other than some big catches that he had, few and far between, but still big when he makes them for the Eagles to this point, has been just his athleticism and his attitude. He talked about this week getting ready to be a Philadelphia Eagle in a 3-hour car ride while traveling north on 95 from D.C. to Philadelphia. But he also talks about how people forget that he's a first-round pick. If he was ever going to put it on display, Seth, would this be the game to do it?
Well, him saying that it doesn't matter is a flat-out lie. I mean, I know what that's like when I left here and went to Arizona, and the first time that I came back to first time we played the Eagles, we actually played them here at the Vet. Absolutely it meant something to me. Now, we didn't win the game, but, it was like I was there to prove a point. When they came to Arizona the next time, we kind of shellacked them, point proven. But for him to say that it doesn't matter, that's a flat-out lie. Listen, we know the talent is there, and there have been the last 2 games he's shown that he can make some plays. The problem for him is there's just too many mouths to feed, and all he's going to get is leftovers. Mm-hmm. Now, if they make a decision that they're going to double A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and they make it obvious, then there's going to be opportunity for him against their third defensive back. And he's going to have to be able to be ready and be able to take advantage of those because Jalen has shown the last 2 weeks he's gone to him with a couple of balls. So that tells me that Jalen's getting a little more comfortable with him. He's trusting him a little bit more. And if that's the case, I would like to see him become more of an option for Jalen and more a part of the offense and what they're trying to do. And that doesn't mean that you have to take from here, rob Peter to pay Paul. But if he's the guy, if he's open, if he's going to be the guy with the matchup that wins, let's get him involved.
You're being modest, though, just real quick.
Yeah.
How many sacks did you have in that game in Arizona against the Eagles?
Oh, I don't even remember.
Two.
Yeah, because Randall. Yeah, but you gotta understand.
What is it?
Randall used to always say, "Man, if I played against this defense, I light y'all up." And I'm like, Randall, we break your damn neck, So I mean, when they came to Arizona, I mean, I had already had the bad taste of losing to them here in Philly and being booed by the Philly fans. So when they came to Arizona, I was on a little bit of a mission.
All right, I need you to say that again, but slow. Randall Cunningham, we used to trash talk Buddy Ryan in your defense.
Oh yeah, in practice. I mean, he was mad at me one day in 7-on-7, and the first 7 passes that he threw were at me in coverage. I knocked 5 of them down. He was incomplete on the other one, and I darn near picked the last one off, and I looked at him, and I was like, you keep messing with me, you're going to be sitting over on the bench on Sunday.
This is news to me. I mean, I figured there had to be some trash talk going back and forth. I didn't think it would be as bold as that. Gunner, did you know that?
I did not know that.
I did not know that either. All right. Well, there we have breaking news. Social media clip for later. All right. Gunner, when you talk about Johan Dotson, you think he'll be a little bit more involved, and will that be in the intention of the Philadelphia Eagles?
I don't know if it's going to be the intention. Yeah, I think it's a wait and see depending on the matchups. But unfortunately for him, he's number 5 in the pecking order because I'll say Calcaterra has surpassed him now in terms of the pecking order for Jalen Hurts. When you talk about the 2 primary receivers, obviously then you go Dallas Goedert. Calcaterra is now moved his way up the pecking order, and then it's Johan Dotson. That man's got to be thinking, what the heck do I have to do to get some more looks here? Unfortunately, you're in a plethora of wealth when it comes to offensive weapons in this Philadelphia Eagles offense, and you're just a number right now, unfortunately. And depending on how Washington decides to scheme, the other guys will determine how many looks Johan Dotson gets. I would be surprised if he got more than 2 or 3 looks in this entire game tonight, to be honest.
All right, now on the other side of things, Zack Ertz is coming back to South Philadelphia to play Lincoln Financial Field for the first time. When you look at his career here in Philadelphia, I think a lot of people, unfortunately, focus on the Carson Wentz aspect of it, where he became almost too much of a Carson Wentz security blanket. But I have no doubt in my mind he'll get a standing ovation from the crowd, at least a very warm reception. Gunnar, when you talk about his legacy in Philadelphia for Zack Ertz, what do you think about in a time that he was here?
Exceptional tight end, not the greatest blocker, not the greatest tackle breaker either, but he could get separation when he had to, had great hands, very humble, quiet leader in the locker room as well. He was exactly what this offense needed from a tight end perspective at that time when he was here. Unfortunately, I know it hurt him when he had to leave here. He got pushed aside once Dallas Goedert started to emerge. But he took it like a man, and he went on his way and never had anything bad to say about Philadelphia. You talk about players coming back and want to measure revenge against their former teams. I will tell you this about a Zack Ertz. This is not about revenge against the Philadelphia Eagles. He has the utmost respect for this organization. This is about trying to get a W for the Washington Commanders and helping them get back in the first place. I'm telling wait, I'm telling you, Zack Ertz has his money. Zack Ertz has everything he needs intact right now. He wants to get that W for Washington more than anything else.
That man got pride, too.
Yes, he does have pride.
And the last time he was here, they pushed him out for the guy that they drafted to be his heir apparent. And that hurt never, ever goes away. I promise you. He wants to have a big night tonight.
No, I'm not saying he doesn't want to have a big night. I'm saying the word revenge doesn't exist in this category. He wants to have a big night for the team he currently plays for to help that team get back to the top of the pecking order in the NFC East. I can tell you that. He's already played against the Philadelphia Eagles. So any revenge factor?
Toast me. Toast me. Let's just agree to disagree.
We'll agree to disagree. I think I know a little bit about Zack Ertz and his humility and where he's already played him since he's left here. Mm-hmm. So that's out of his system. The Washington Commanders have been one of the unexpected pleasant stories in the National Football League this year. When you think about it, you said off the top of the show, think about the volume of players they brought in here this year. Nobody expected this turnover, this transformation to take place. The coaching staff.
19 new faces.
In it. Rookie quarterback who's talked about being odds-on favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Nobody expected this, but they have been one of the better teams in the National Football League, period, flat out. So this is about a team that's trying to showcase who they are and what they are, especially coming off a bad loss to Pittsburgh on Sunday. They should have won that game against the Steelers on Sunday. And here's another thing. They've got to get this monkey off their back. When you look at the 3 losses this season, the 3 losses have come against 3 winning teams. When you look at their 7 wins, the 7 wins have come against teams that had losing records at the time when they played them. So they've got to beat a heavyweight. And there's a heavyweight standing on the other side of this ring tonight called Lincoln Financial Field.
I liked it better when you guys were disagreeing. Just to go back to that for a second.
Can we toast again and disagree?
We can toast.
All right,
you know Zack Ertz. I know human nature.
I'm telling
Fair enough.
I'm telling you, he got that out of his system already.
Fair enough.
Okay.
To put a bow on the Zack Ertz portion of the program, I also want to shout out. There's a lot of athletes that have done a lot of charity work in Philadelphia.
No question.
And a lot of times when they leave, the charity work leaves. Zack Ertz has been doing a phenomenal job with House of Hope and Hunting Park and that Ertz Family Foundation, and Julie as well, and Lisa as well has been doing a fantastic. Zack's mom doing a fantastic job in our community with that. So we do appreciate that from Zack Ertz and the Ertz Family Foundation. When you talk about the rest of this defense, though, with the Washington Commanders and what they're going to be eyeing in this Eagles offense, talk about older players turning it around for a Thursday night game, like Brandon Graham saying he likes it. What has happened with Bobby Wagner? Has he found the fountain of youth? Because one of the first people that Jalen Hurts was asked about at his press conference this week was Bobby Wagner and how he's found that fountain of youth. Same thing with Kellen Moore. He couldn't stop talking about how talented Bobby Wagner is. Back reunited, of course, with the head coach, Dan Quinn, who was his defensive coordinator all the way back in Seattle at the Legion of Boom days. What has Bobby Wagner rediscovered to help this Washington Commanders defense?
Oh, he's playing in a system that he's extremely familiar with. He played in this system for a very long time. Now, there's been some changes because Dan Quinn was pretty much a cover 2 shell defensive coordinator during his time in Seattle, and he was forced to transform himself after he got fired from the Atlanta Falcons and became the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. And he has transformed himself. He's not a cover. You talked about 51% of the time there in man. That was unheard of during his days, in Seattle and Atlanta. So he's kind of transformed the way he looks at defense today. But the bones and the foundation of that defense is what Bobby Wagner grew up on and what he knows. So when you're in that era of familiarity, now you're starting to not only play from a physical standpoint, but he knows what to do. He doesn't have to think about what to do. And when you enter that realm, now you begin to play the game on the offensive side of the ball. You begin to prep on the offensive side of the ball instead of worrying about what you have to do defensively, because every step you take and every movement that you make, you're doing so out of familiarity and from a standpoint of knowing exactly what the heck you're doing. It's second nature.
All right, if you're Kellen Moore, Derrick Gunn, if you're Kellen Moore in this situation, what are you doing when it comes to game planning for Bobby Wagner, what he's been able to do leading that defense in tackles?
Jalen Hurts, know where he is every play, every snap, know where Bobby Wagner is. That's the catalyst of that defense. That man is a future Hall of Famer. And everything that you want to epitomize about what an inside linebacker should be, that's Bobby Wagner. If you know where he is, then set up your place around where he is on the football field. You're right. There's just some players. Brandon Graham. Look at Calais Campbell. What is he, 38, 39 years old? There's just some players that just exceed the expectancy life of a player in the National Football League for whatever the case may be. You know, everybody's body type, mindset is different, and those guys are exception to the rules. And I love watching guys like Bobby Wagner play, man, because I'm sitting there going, how in the world is he still doing this? You know, because middle linebacker position, that inside backer position is one of the most physical positions in all of pro football. You know, you always banging helmets with somebody. And that man has been standing tall for a long time. And unfortunately, he's on that side of the field tonight.
All right, Saquon Barkley, Kenny Gainwell, hopefully, again, more fourth quarter play for Will Shipley, because that'll mean that the Eagles are up a lot in that fourth quarter. We talked earlier about the Thursday night football game and the quick turnaround. I can't really think of a better time for the Eagles to have this Thursday night game when you're talking about resting starters, gentlemen, in the fourth quarter in 3 of your 5 last games. Is there a better scenario the Eagles could have, Seth, than the one presented to them now when they have that short turnaround?
Well, not really. I mean, the intensity is going to be there. It's a short turnaround, and I don't know. I mean, you got these older guys that's talking about they like it. Maybe to D. Gunn's point, they like the extra days off. They'll have 10 days between tonight's game and the next game that they play. But the intensity and adrenaline alone will get them to where they need to be to perform in this game tonight. It's for the division lead. If they win this game, they're 2 games clear. They get 10 days off, and then they got to fly out west after 10 days to take on the Rams, who struggled in a loss last Sunday night. And then, lo and behold, they come back and they got to get on a bus and ride down to Baltimore, who's going to be their stiffest test of the year. So everything kind of lines up, the way you need it to line up for them, for these next 2 games. But first things first, let's take care of the Washington Commanders, get the 2-game lead, and then move on from there.
Gunner, how much does it matter to get at least the fourth quarter off if you're a starter in a lot of these games, especially Saquon Barkley?
Oh, you kidding me? Starters want every quarter they can get off, man. They had that opportunity last week in Dallas. They shut the farm down, by the fourth quarter. Yeah, they want to do it again. I don't think that's going to happen tonight. But yeah, they would love to do that again. Any rest you can get at this point of a season, you're not just healing your body, you're healing your mind also. So any rest you can get at this point of the season, you take it when you can get that opportunity.
When we come back, of course, we'll give you our players to bank on, brought to you by Mid-Penn Bank. We'll also talk about Nick Sirianni. A clip was released of him earlier in the week. I think you gentlemen have seen it, where it was the most intense I have seen Nick Sirianni. We'll talk about that and, of course, give you our official predictions for Eagles Commanders Thursday night. That's when we return on the betPARX pregame show presented by Pond Lehocky. The 360 Lounge, where we're doing the show right now, as a matter of fact. Make sure you guys stop by, enjoy a drink, and enjoy some great entertainment.
You've got your Sunday obsession, and we got you. Now with Verizon, get NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV on us and get every out-of-market Sunday game. Plus $800 off Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Only on Verizon.
See you Sunday. At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional-grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges, from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
Most people don't know how to get the care they need. The experts at Stay at Home Care can help. Before choosing a caregiver or family member for your care, you need to apply for the home care program. The application process can be complicated. Stay at Home Care can help you navigate through every step. Once approved, your caregiver or family member will receive guaranteed weekly pay, a variety of medical benefits options, paid holidays, paid vacation, and overtime pay. Call Stay at Home Care, here to help every step of the way.
This next segment is brought to you by Verizon. Welcome back to the betPARX pregame show presented by Pond Lehocky. Gentlemen, one of my biggest concerns, and many people's concerns already throughout this season, despite a 5-game winning streak for your Eagles and propelling themselves into first place, has been coaching. You go back to the Giants game that the Eagles blew out the Giants 28-3. I said this game should be a blowout, but I'm worried about coaching. Even going into the Cowboys game last week, should be a blowout. It was again, but I was still concerned about coaching. I still have yet to acquire a lot of confidence in Nick Sirianni, mainly because of things that he says in his press conferences, what you see on the field with bad decisions. Those things don't lead you to believe that he is going to rally this team back to the playoffs again. However, they are well on their way to doing that, knock on wood. we finally saw him in what I'll call his natural habitat with the team, trying to coach them up, trying to motivate them this week. I believe it was Eagles.com that released a clip of Nick Sirianni saying it's not about winning 10 games. It's not about 11 or 12. It's not about just making the playoffs. We've been done that. I want to do special stuff. I'll improvise that word. Special stuff with this Eagles team. How different is it, Seth, when you look at a guy that, again, not his natural habitat to be at a podium on a microphone, but certainly in the right place when he talks about motivating a locker room?
Well, I mean, he seems to be able to do that because, no matter how much heat he's taken, his players have always supported him. And, even a much bigger level of support, I mean, I talked about it, a couple of weeks ago because I saw Lane, in his at locker, interview talk about, before they went on the bye that him and Jordan Mailata and Brandon Dickerson, Landon Dickerson, went to Nick and talk about the importance of how we need to run the ball. Look at what we did with Miles Sanders a couple of years ago, 1,200 yards. Now we got Saquon. We can do the same thing. We just need to make the adjustment. Well, lo and behold, Tim McManus comes out, with an article today talking about exactly that and having had conversations with Lane and Jordan and Landon as well to confirm it. And their thing was, hey, Nick's got an open door. We didn't feel like when we went in to have that conversation to him, it was like, oh, you guys play and I'll do the coaching. Right. No, he was completely open to that. And when you have a coach that operates like that, his players are going to, they're going to like him. Everybody wants to talk, the players play for him, they play hard for him. Players play for themselves. They don't play for coaches. They're playing for the overall benefit, of the team. As a player, I play for the 10 guys that I'm lined up with. I'm playing for the 11 guys on the offensive side of the ball, the special teams guys, and I'm playing, for myself. Everything else is a benefit of that. I love Buddy Ryan to death, but there was never a game where I went to that game with the mindset, I got to play for coach. It doesn't work that way. But we like to create these narratives in the media because they sound good. They sound nice. That's just not the case. If they respect Nick, then they're going to do everything that Nick puts in front of them to do. They're going to execute the game plan. And the fact that Nick is listening to them and what they think is right and how the offense should operate even inspires them that much more to go out because they know if you ask them to do it and he implements it in the game plan, he goes to Kellen Moore and say, hey, we need to run the ball a little more like they've done over the last 5 games, and it doesn't work. Now all of a sudden their voice becomes void because you asked him to do something, he acquiesced, and you didn't get it done. Well, these guys are going out and proving it. They said, listen, we can run the football on anybody. Give us the chance to do it. And even last week with Saquon with 66 yards, you would think to yourself, man, the Eagles didn't have a good day rushing the football. Then you turn around and look up, they rushed for 184 yards. Now, a lot of that had to do with Jalen's 7 carries for 56 yards. But then you had Shipley and you had Gainwell to come in. Yeah. All those guys came in and contributed. So that's a testament, to Nick listening to his players and saying, okay, if this is what you guys believe and this is what you think, I'm going to put you in position. Go out and prove me right.
Well, you bring up Saquon, and I thought you were going to bring this point up as well. After the game against the Cowboys, Saquon was at his locker, and they were asking him, well, things were rocky. You're going to the bye. Things were really rocky. And he was like, things weren't really rocky. You guys were talking about things being rocky, and us here in the locker room were thinking, this isn't rocky. This might just be a rough patch for a brief moment, but this is something we're going to get through as a team. And to go back to Nick Sirianni, he seems to still inspire that confidence in his team. And unsolicited, whether it was after the bye and Jalen Hurts talking about Nick Sirianni and how they've gotten on the same page and all is well with the world, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson even unsolicited talking about playing for coach. A.J. Brown last year when he finally broke his 2.5-week silence, he talked about how he's taken up for Nick because Nick Sirianni takes it for that team. It seems like, Gunner, this team rallies around their head coach. We see things on the field that look like bad decisions, but in that locker room, he seems to be able to motivate these guys.
Bottom line, Nick Sirianni's a winner. He's been a winner. Now, you can like him or dislike him. You don't have to like decisions he's made. Look at his track record as a head coach in the National Football League. Go back in the history of the NFL and see how many head coaches started out the entire careers as a head coach, all with winning campaigns, all with playoff appearances, and a Super Bowl appearance in his second year. You're not going to find very many who do that. Now, you can say what you want to say about some of his antics, his play calling, lack thereof, decision-making, so on and so forth. But the numbers don't lie. The bottom line numbers don't lie. And the players want to win. As much as they play the game for themselves and for the money, they also want to play to win. Players like being in the limelight.
Yeah.
They don't want to be at the bottom of the division and nobody's talking about them. They like to strut their stuff. Nick Sirianni has implemented something here. No matter who they bring in, no matter who Howie Roseman drafts or brings in here as a free agent, they buy into what he's doing, and it has had a great measure of success.
Fair enough. All right, gentlemen, before we get to our official predictions, let's talk about our mid-pen bank players to bank on. Gunner, I'll start with you. When you look at guys you want to bank on for this Eagles squad today, who you banking on? Who do you think is going to be the guy that comes through? Who are we going to be talking about the most on postgame?
Look, man, I want Devonta Smith to have a breakout game. A breakout game. I mean a big game. Like one of those A.J. Brown type games. If you look at his first 3 games of the season, he had 7 catches, okay? Then he goes 3 catch, 1 catch, 6 a couple of games, then 4-2. You pay that man a lot of money to catch the football. And I understand A.J. Brown is your highlight. I understand he's your marquee. But this guy's a heck of a supporting cast player, man. You need to get him some more supporting cast appearances, man. I want to see him like a 7-8 catch game for $120, $125, and at least 1 touchdown. Get 1 touch, get 1 foot across the end zone in the game tonight.
Seth, who you bang on?
I'm going to keep it short because I got a question for you guys before we wrap up. Jalen Hurts, because something tells me that, when they came back from the bye, I said step by step, even if you have to make Jalen a game manager. I think that we're getting to the place now where you're going to begin to see the numbers start to escalate for Jalen because it has to. It simply has to. You're going to be able to, you can run the football, but you're going to have games like last week when Dallas, made a staunch attempt to limit Saquon. I think other teams are going to begin to do that. And if that's the case, then Jalen's workload is going to have to increase.
All right. I'm with you there. I don't doubt that. I also hope that the 2 turnovers last week were an anomaly again, not going back sliding into the turnover machine.
Don't say that, man.
Well, I'm just saying, I just hope is all. That's all I'm saying. When it comes to player to bank on for me, I'm going with Jalen Carter. I want to see Jalen Carter hold up Jaden Daniels like they're back in college and Jaden Daniels is a wee baby in his arms, holding him up with 1 arm. Jalen Carter, to me, has established the bar, the precedent for what his season could be and really what his career could be. He's winning double teams. He's got great moves there at the line of scrimmage, whether it's strength, whether it's finesse, whether it's shuffling his feet. You see it all on that line of scrimmage. I want Jaden Daniels to be haunted by Jalen Carter in tonight's game. So my player to bank on, and I think he's going to be a big difference maker defensively, is going to be Jalen Carter. Gentlemen, when it comes to our official prediction, well, did you have a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So concerns.
Okay.
What's your major concern for tonight in this game? Mine is their ability to keep Jaden Daniels in the pocket and how they rush. The defensive ends cannot get above him and create that lane for him to step through. There's going to be some instances where they go man coverage and they're going to have to spy him. Who's fast enough to spy him? I don't think Nakobe Dean is. I think Zach Bond is the guy to spy him. But they've got to be extremely disciplined in their rush lanes in order to keep him in the pocket, because if you do have the fortunate ability to stop the run, then now you got to figure out how you contain this guy, in the pocket once you force him to throw the ball more than they want to throw it. Like I said earlier, they average 31 runs per game and only 28 passes per game, okay? So how are you going to up those numbers? And once you do up those numbers by limiting the run game, how do you manage to keep him in the pocket? That concerns the heck out of me because Josh Sweat is a loss of contain monster in run and pass. And the other guys on the other side, they're speed rushers, D-Gun.
Mm-hmm.
So when they get on the edge of a offensive tackle, they think they can beat that guy around the corner all the time. If that's the only rush that you have and the tackle pushes you by, you just have a huge gap.
Indeed.
Your defensive tackles, one guy's going to get double, one guy's going to get single, but you got to figure out how to balance it up. You can't let those two guys, that guy that gets double, you can't allow him to push you over and get 2 tackles over here next to each other, creating a big gap over here. So, rush integrity is going to be monumental, and it's the one thing I'm afraid of tonight.
Well, let's talk about edge rushers get greedy at times. Edge rushers get greedy. They want to put up their numbers. They want to be able to drop the quarterback as well. How disciplined will the linebackers be in this game tonight? Not only that, I would consider using Cooper DeJean as a spy Jaden Daniels.
Nah, you need him in cover.
Well, I don't know.
I want him dialed up like we saw a couple of weeks ago. Some slot blitzes because I don't think we're going to be threatened enough by the slot wide receivers to have to worry about it. Now you can drop Gardner Johnson down in the slot to pick up that guy and bring Cooper DeJean off the edge. I want to see some more of that.
I don't disagree.
My opinion.
I would love to see that too.
I don't disagree. We'll agree to disagree.
Look at you two.
See,
there's all this disagree.
I want to see DeJean in Jaden Daniels' hip pocket. That's where I want to see him. And give that man something to think about, because everything Seth talked about in terms of discipline from the edge rushers, you know doggone well they're not going to do it. You know it's not going to happen. And he's going to slip through the gate a couple of times. And I want to see DeJean standing there waiting for him. I don't want to see N'Kobe Dean. I don't want to see Zach Bond standing. I want to see Cooper DeJean standing there waiting for him. So not tonight, buddy. You're in the wrong stadium at the wrong time tonight.
On that note, the one thing that I'm banking on with Jalen Carter, the other side of it is a fear, which is he gets there and flushes Jaden Daniels out, and there's no one to contain him, and there's no one to finish the play and get a sack, and then Jaden Daniels ends up making a big play. So, yeah, I'd like to see Jalen Carter be able to finish it off. As far as just concerns in general, I don't want to wish it into existence, obviously, but the only thing that scares me is turning the football over.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that worries me. But this Eagles team is so talented, but you just don't turn it over.
Last week was an anomaly.
Okay.
Because you had two great players making great plays.
I agree.
Like there's not another cornerback in the National Football League, in my opinion, that makes that play that Trayvon Diggs made. Okay, and as far as the sack was concerned, you seen him make the adjustment. So you had Michael Parsons couldn't beat Fred Johnson. Couldn't beat him around the end. So he turned it into a loop and came underneath, and there was no way. I think that he really surprised Jalen, and Jalen had the ball in one hand. Now, when they came back and they ran the slot blitz where Jalen evaded the guy, what did you see? He evaded him with two hands on the ball. What's number 13's name? The 13's name for the linebacker for Dallas.
Oh, I know.
Jeez.
I'm blanking.
So am I. But he came as a free runner. And all Jalen did was kind of step to the side and let his speed run him by, straighten up, stepped up in the pocket, touchdown. Okay? So I look at those two turnovers as situations where the defense, the players that made those plays just made great plays. They just made great plays. And everybody's like, he should have threw it earlier. But what they didn't see is they didn't see that Jalen was waiting for Goddard to clear the linebacker that was in the throwing path, So it's real easy for us to look at the situation and say, this is what he should have did. He can't make that, but you gotta see the big picture. And I wanted to go back on film and look at it, and he was waiting for him to clear the linebacker. If he throws it any earlier, it's either an interception by the linebacker or it's a batted down ball.
Overshown. Did you say that?
Overshown.
DeMarvion Overshown.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. All right. Let's get to the official predictions for tonight's Thursday night football game. I'll take the first crack at it. Look, if this was any other Thursday night, I wouldn't have this being such a high-scoring affair. But the fact that the Eagles have had rest, I do think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I think the Eagles are going to come away with the victory. And I think overall, as good and as much as I respect the Washington Commanders and everything they've done this year, and every nice thing you could possibly say about Jaden Daniels and what you've seen from him so far in his rookie season, the Eagles just have too much firepower, and I think they're going to be clicking on all cylinders coming back to South Philadelphia. I have the Eagles winning this football game 31-27 over the Washington Commanders. Oh, Derrick Gunn, of disagreement? What do you have?
No, you almost took my exact score.
Oh, did I really?
Let's see. Washington averages 29 points a game. Eagles averaging almost 26 points a game. Washington put up 27 points against a really good Pittsburgh defense this past Sunday. I said they're going to put up at least 27-28, but the Eagles will put up 31, and they win it on a late field goal, 31-28.
There you go. Seth, what are you looking at?
I think it's going to be just a little bit lower, and I think it's going to be a tight game against two really good teams trying to figure and field each other out. But I still like the Eagles winning this football game on a late Jake Elliott field goal, 28-25.
28-25. All right. We got the Eagles winning this game, all three of us.
Yep.
Let's hope that that's the case, and they put more space between them and the Washington Commanders and improve to 8-2 on the season before they go into a long 10-day layoff. Looking forward to that for the Eagles, and also looking forward to this post-game show as well when we come up after this game, hopefully after this Eagles win. It'll be the betPARX post-game show presented by Pond Lehocky from Parx Casino, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia. Eagles right now 3.5-point favorites to win this game against Washington. For Seth Joyner, for Derrick Gunn, I'm Marc Farzetta. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel so you can follow us all season long. We'll see you guys in postgame.